Good morning, good afternoon. Hello, Kenneth. Hang on, let me bring it up. I'm a bit out of practice. Good morning, Kenneth Delap. He writes, yo. Slow start to today in general. How was it for you, Kenneth? How was it for you? I'm hoping you might be able to give me some feedback. I've changed my camera. I've got my little kind of gimbal camera thing that's like a really good camera, and I thought I'd try it. A bit of a different angle. But how does it look, Kenneth? Does it appear okay? I need to fiddle around with where I put it to get the room better. But the quality, does it look okay? Please let me know your thoughts. I've got things to talk about today. Got lots of things to talk about. So Kenneth, you homeschool, don't you? One of the things I've been trying to encourage recently was like this English, I guess, like you'd call it English literature. So and they're only 6 and 8, but poetry. Good morning, sir. Adam from 5 a.m. Squat Club writes, good morning, team. Yeah, I've been looking at English lit recently with the kids. And going well. I heard a saying, right, earlier in the week. I've never heard it before. And the saying goes something like this. We decorate space with art. We decorate time with music. I love that. First of all, I first heard it, I was like, oh, that's supposed to mean something. I should probably understand what that means. And then I started thinking about it. I was like, ooh, I like that. We decorate time with music. Beautiful, isn't it? I really like that. But yeah, so been on this poetry sort of mission recently. I haven't got the patience to read long form at the moment. Just can't be bothered. I'm doing a lot of it with the L3 work. I try to be more of a visual learner, and the whole sitting down reading, it doesn't do me any favors. So I'm hoping to have a guest on soon that will be able to help me with that purpose. I put a post out the other day because one of the things I want to talk about it live to get your opinions. I've been wanting to get into poetry, writes Kenneth to that. Yeah. It's one of those things. It's sort of like penguins, right? So as in the animals, and hear me out. They're sort of always there. They're floating around. When you were a kid, you knew about them. They're at the zoo for you to go and see. And they're sort of, you get bored by it. It's like, yeah, it's just one of those things that's there. And then every now and again, you're like, fucking penguins are great. They're really cool. And then you'll forget about it. Poetry is one of those. It's poetry sort of is always there. It's always floating around in the ether. It's a beautiful art form, and you neglect it a little bit. You put it to the side, like, meh. Then every now and again, I have this hunger for poetry. It's weird. Shawnee, good morning. Sean Roddy. Poultry chat. Just load of cocks, yeah. Poultry in motion. Didn't take you for a big chicken fan. What are you on about? We're talking about poetry. Oh, sorry for you, Sean. Poetry. Poetry. So, I don't know. Tell me about the American school system. So, from the age of quite young, probably, I reckon about, well, young, obviously, when you first go to school. Yeah, I know what you mean, right? Chickens, same thing as penguins. We sort of just forget how brilliant they are and how mental they are. But yeah, I know what you mean. But yeah, so from the age of sort of like 5 at school, you start of introduced to this concept of poetry, and you get an idea about what poetry is. Um, but then we get to this age at school in the UK where you're like 15, 16, and we do examinations at 16 called GCSEs, and everyone does them across the board. And they qualify you for the next step of education, which we call A levels, which is what you do at 17 and 18. And then your A level qualifications can qualify you, if you choose to go to university or college. So there's GCSEs, A levels, and then university. Anyway, GCSEs, we do English literature and English language. So there's 2 English modules or exams and kind of results that you get. So you'd have 2 results for English. And English literature is half of it. So half of that subject for the 2 years that you do it is poetry. And the English have got a very long, well, the Brits have got a very long history of poetry. And one early on in that, in kind of your school life, you learn all about the classics, all the way through to kind of medieval, early medieval, and like Beowulf. I don't know if you've ever read Beowulf, but it is. I know you guys are talking about chickens and geese, but I don't know if you've ever read or, I guess, watched. If it was a film a little while ago with, God, who played Beowulf? A big actor did the voice for it. Sigrid Sassoon, yeah, Sigrid, not Vidal Sassoon, Wash and Go Man. But Sigrid Sassoon was obviously a war poet. But prior to that, you get like Beowulf, which was an ancient German tale about a hero and a monster attacking a village. And there's obviously strong undercurrents throughout all of it. But the idea behind Beowulf is this: it's symbolic of fighting another day, getting a big monster, fighting for a just cause, to protect, to serve, to find purpose. And the thing is, the monster, eventually he kills the monster and he thinks he's done, but the monster's mother returns the next day. There will always be a bigger monster to fight. And there's this reoccurring theme with it all. Grendel, yeah, the Grendel. So Grendel and Grendel's mother comes along after that. So I kind of liked those ancient, we'll say ancient, those older poets, and the poetry that didn't really, at the time, sink in too well. It does sound like the one, but again, there's recurring themes throughout human history. We will always be the same themes coming up because we are the same thing. We're the same psyche, with Ray Winston and Anthony Hopkins. Yeah, that one. Good shout, Sean. Sean Roddy. But in poetry, there's always these recurring themes, and having this big, like, think of St. George and the Dragon. So the patron saint of England is St. George, along with other countries. St. George fought this metaphorical dragon. So it's a metaphor for this big enemy, this thing that was attacking. Everyone was scared, and he stood up and he fought it. Throughout history, you've always had that hero figure fighting this big evil that comes around and engulfs people that people are scared of. And you need these figures and these these heroes that people latch onto. But they've always got flaws. They've always got these, hidden flaws behind that. Anyway, getting back to poetry. So the poetry that I never really latched onto when I was that age was the war poetry. Siegfried Sassoon. Although, having said that, Wordsworth did the Crimean War, didn't he, for the Times? And 500, that's an incredible poem. Very vivid. We have one element in Irish history. Mark on is the monster is the Brits. Yeah, exactly. Wherever you lay. Now, I'm sure if you go to Afghanistan or if you go to the Middle East, if you go to any of these countries, North Korea have the USA as that monster in their poetry, in their writings, in their history. They put the US as that monster. So their hero is their demigod, who survives, apparently. Anyway, politics is sort of one thing that I wanted to. It branches across this. So we were doing about poetry, and one of the poets that we came across, what we came across with the kids, was William Blake. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with William Blake, but that man was mental. High as a kite most of the time. He was in that English Gothic period where they used to hang around in coffee houses, getting absolutely smacked off their tits, and would paint and write these insane stories. It was where Dracula, where the Frankenstein came about. You've got, Mary Shelley, her husband, and all the poets that came out of there. William Blake has this collection of poems and songs of innocence and songs of experience. And Songs of Innocence, hello, Craig, how are you, sir? Songs of Innocence talks about exactly that. Innocence of children, innocence of animals, and how it affects, where we lose it. And this collection of poems is amazing. Hey, David Weed, we're talking about gay stuff like poetry. Sure, you like that. But yeah, one of them made a lot of sense at the moment because my kids are getting to that age, right, where they're asking questions about stuff, especially my daughter who's eight and a half. So she's starting to piece things together. Things are starting to sort of make some kind of sense for her. But on the flip side of it, they're not making sense because of that, right? So it's kind of got me thinking about conversations that I'm going to have. And because we've got our third on the way any minute now, I'm going to have a third kid, right? My wife's very, very pregnant and she's getting ready to pop 37 weeks. So any day now, we're going to have another. And I saw a video of this kid talking about politics and talking about leaders and talking about why this politician says this or does that. He's about my daughter's age. And look, I'll never judge anyone for it. I'm never going to judge anyone for parenting unless it's really shit. But parenting's a really fucking tough thing to do because you've got a million different opinions on what's right and what's wrong. And ultimately, you've got to resign to the fact that you are going to do what you think is best for your kid, and what you want your kid to turn out like. But one thing that I really strongly feel is that kids shouldn't be politicized too early. Navy D 5486. So hey from Oz, parenting is hard. It is hard, but it's a joy, isn't it? I tried to keep my kids so far away from politics. Yeah, and look, I'm not saying like everything's hard. Like a workout, it's as hard as you make it. You can go in and do Fran in 20 minutes. It's not hard. It's as hard as you make it, but you want the best result from Fran. You want to go as fast as you can. If you understand the intent, you are going hard at Fran, and it's shit. Parenting is similar, I guess. It's as hard as you make it. And for me, the idea of adding political slant and political discussion and trying to talk to my kids about shit that they have got no comprehension and no idea about, and I don't want them. I don't want them to be thinking about those things now, because as a 40-year-old, I know I have no impact. My opinion isn't shared by anyone. It's my own opinion, right? And I'm thinking, and I'm reading these poems of like Songs of Innocence by Blake, and I'm watching this video of this young kid. And shall I tell you what it was? It was it'll sound daft, right? And I may be looking into this way too much. But there was this young lad, and he was talking about why it's so important that his favorite role models in sport are women. And he's like an 8-year-old boy, and all of his walls are covered in like posters of female athletes. And on the surface, there's not a problem with it, right? I haven't got a problem with that, clearly, right? Because I'm a CrossFitter. We celebrate female athletes all the time. My wife was a fucking female athlete, like, and my mother-in-law is one. It's not so much that, it was the person behind the camera that I have the problem with. It's not the kid saying it, it's the person behind the camera, because you know damn well that the person behind the camera is playing that kid like a fucking puppet, trying to get a message across and trying to live through that boy and try and make him, brainwash him into thinking that he's taking the right side of history and all that shit. You can tell it. He's an 8-year-old boy. You could see it a mile off. He doesn't believe a word he's saying. He doesn't understand why he's having to say the things that that person's getting him to say. And it's the same with everything at the moment. You like politics. If you hear an 8-year-old talking about fucking what's going on in Sudan or Israel or the economy or George Floyd riots or what, they haven't got a fucking clue, and they shouldn't. They're 8-year-olds. They should be thinking about what tree to climb or what the multiplication they're doing or what rugby match they've got next week or what Doris next door's getting for Christmas. They shouldn't be talking about politics. They shouldn't be talking. It shouldn't be even be on the agenda. And I know that different people have different opinions. And like I said, I'm not judging anyone at all. I steer clear of judging people, really. But and then I'm reading this poetry by Blake, and he has this poem called "The Chimney Sweep," and it's such a harsh, beautiful poem about this young lad who's working the chimneys in Victorian London, and all the young boys that he's in an orphanage with that are also chimney sweeps. They start dying, and they see angels, and they're fucking taken away by these angels. Navy D writes, kids are so easily influenced. My son had a teacher when he was 10 who was promoting all female sports. I see where you're coming. And I know what you mean. And when you say it out loud, it sounds like you're being a dickhead, right? But it's not so, it's not that we don't want our sons watching female athletes. Like I said, I'm surrounded by them all the time. It's as soon as you're making it an issue or a problem, then, and politicizing it. And it's just the intent of the person behind the camera that I have the problem with. It's not the boy. If that boy watched it on telly or watched the CrossFit Games and was obsessed with Tier 2 me or name another female athlete and had that as a role model, fucking brilliant. I can't think of anyone better than a sports person for a role model. But this 8-year-old was talking about why it's important for him to have a female, like all his role models are female. And I'm thinking, no 8-year-old talks like that. You don't, that's being fed. And it just came across as really contrived, and it didn't sit well with me. It really didn't. And yeah, it was a different change, I guess. There's so many coached videos using kids as pawns. Social media's created the worst cringe. Yeah. Talking of cringe, right? Had a video. I'll try and see if I can pull it up on here. I think I can play videos, can't I? As in without getting strike from Instagram. I think Instagram's fine. Hang on. Can I rewind on this? Hang on. Let me bring it up again. If I share screen. Share screen. This is brilliant, by the way. Right, here we go. How do I turn the volume? Oh, there we go. When I walk in the room, please don't.
Yes, Lord, come on. Hey, Les. Only 5K left. Shut up.
Taking time away from.
I don't really know what happened, to be honest. I've just seen the physio and I fractured my skull 2 kilometers in. I've had cramp for 6.5 weeks now. And I shouldn't have worn new shoes. I don't want to blame anyone, but the pacemakers were rubbish.
Yeah, yo, I'm trying to paint the picture as I see it.
Anyway, the message of that post, it's all the cliche things that you see from these social media influencers doing a fucking marathon. Sean, how did yours go? Yeah, he's very funny. He seems like he's been doing it forever, but yeah, I still don't get what's wrong with noses. Do you know what I mean? Like, what's wrong with just breathing through your nose? You just like a bell end, don't you? Not my day. Yeah, it's brilliant. I got sent out this morning. I really like it. 4:38. So Sean Lenderman, 1988, writes 4:38. He did a marathon yesterday in 4 hours 38. Well done, Shawnee boy. I think you said you wanted it under 4.5, but wasn't quite there. That's still good going, mate. Anything under 5 is done. Anything above 5 is a fail. Try again. Did you all see? I suppose everyone has now the High Rocks London shit. I won't be bringing that up. They do help, to be fair. Now, Jon, you're in the chat, right? So I was talking to my client this morning at the gym a few hours ago. I want to get your take on all of this, right? Now, where to start with this? You made me think about tools, right? So the nose strips, they might help, right? But breathe normally and you'll be fine. You can't always have nose strips around. So you use these tools if and when you ever need them. Like you shouldn't become a crux. It shouldn't be just your norm that you go to, right? They're a tool to use sometimes. And my client was in earlier and she said basically that a relative of hers in another country who's doing CrossFit, not on an affiliate, but with a CrossFit trainer, the trainer has got her relative, every time he squats, he's putting plates underneath his heels like we used to 25 years ago in David Lloyd. Is that still a thing people do? Because I'm so far removed from regular gym bro stuff that when we talk about functional fitness, we talk about using tools when we need it, but you shouldn't get you. And this is why I moved away from using lifting shoes and weightlifting shoes unless I'm at competition. I want to be able to squat to depth in regular shoes because for me, that's more functional than not. Think about Nancy, the workout, 5 rounds, 400 run, 15 air squats with a 50 kilo weight. So whatever that is, 115. Grant, I'll talk about that in a minute. Thank you for reminding me. Hello, Grant. if you're putting chocks underneath, so if you're putting a plate underneath for your heels, I get it. You're flooding the quad, you're hitting that parallel or below, you're getting the fuller range of movement through it. But for me, when I train, I'm trying to think constantly, how is this functional? How is it going to replicate itself outside of the gym? When we come to Nancy, you can't use fucking lifting shoes for Nancy. You're not running 400 meters clonky, clonky, clonky in weightlifting shoes. You're not going to use them. You've got to be able to overhead squat with regular shoes on to run. For me, if you are claiming to be functional, when you're at the gym, you need to squat without those plates underneath your heels for the majority of the time. There will be odd sessions where it might be a quick fix for something. But I genuinely didn't realize people still were doing that rather than working on mechanics. Depends. I have a 60-year-old woman, but plates allow for better torso position for her squats. So you've got a 60-year-old with 12 screws in her ankle. Are you trying to get her below parallel then, Matt? Is that your aim for her? Because I would argue that potentially there's a toss-up there, isn't there? Is your long-term plan to get rid of those plates? Because that doesn't transfer outside of itself for real life. The 60-year-old with 12 screws in her ankle, I'm assuming you're trying to prep her and get her strong so that she's able to live life better without, eventually long-term plan. They're a tool to use in the meantime, but eventually she's going to have to move away from there. You've got a choice there then. You can either get in her moving really well without those plates and maybe not hitting that fuller depth of squat, and she can rely on that flat foot and not having to worry about that plate being there. Or you can use the plate and hit further depth. My question there is, and I'm not judging, what's the long-term benefit of that for you? Is it to eventually move away from those plates? Because I'd guess to say that my client, her relative, is going to be at a massive disadvantage from that rather than working on mobility. He's a lad about my age at the gym, no prior issues, and he's just using fucking plates to make sure he hits this depth number. I'd much rather see someone working on the mobility with this as a tool towards it. You can do so much more than just shoving plates underneath. But yeah, I don't believe in tape over the cracks. It was pointless to me, and maybe that's my downfall. Yeah, and again, I've had that, Sean, this week. I asked this question the other day on Instagram, and I had quite a few people message me, like DM me their answer. And what brought this on was I asked the question, what are the gaps in your coaching? So where do you feel you fall short, and what do you think you've got to work on continuously? And mine is being intolerant of people. And I know that sounds too harsh or funny or whatever you want to call it. And bear in mind, I don't outwardly express it. I don't outwardly express that I'm intolerant of people. I don't walk up to people and then say, oh my God, you're such a shit client, I'm not working with you, right? It's not that I do that. I just find myself getting less and less likely to go the extra mile for those people. They're in the gym, they're safe, I know they're under my wing, I'll leave them to it if they need to. But they're the people that probably need the most amount of attention. And the thing that I continuously have to remind myself, and this is all from the level 3 work that I've been looking at, and looking in the mirror a little bit when it comes to your coaching, because we have to find those gaps and we have to work on them. It's like our training. There's two groups of people that I really don't enjoy coaching at the moment and haven't. And it's the dreamers and it's the analysts. And the analysts are those ones that create this massive big bunch of hurdles with smoke and mirrors, and they hide behind complexity. They create, and the touch, hello CrossFat, they create all of these problems. They ask all these inane questions. They give you all this information that you don't need. They go the extra mile to make it stagnant, and they're not actually fucking doing much because they create all of these problems, and they go into the hello Meg, how are you? Hello CrossFat. They what they tend to do, these people, and you'll have one at your gym. If you're a coach, you already know one person that I'm describing here. It'll be, I don't know, deadlifts, and they'll walk in and they'll want to know what the deadlift weight at the CrossFit Games in 2015 was. And then they'll say, right, what shoe wear shall I wear? And then they go to the toilet and say that the toilet needs fixing. Then they'll come out and then they'll get their Excel spreadsheet to show their analysis for the last 20 weeks of training that they've got. And then they'll start talking about transference into pull-ups. And by the time they've actually done anything, they've got like one set and then they can't do it. And then they move on to the next thing. It's fucking constant. And it is all the time. You already said it. Yes, Grant, but I didn't pull up his comment. Thank you. Go live for once. Anyway, it's always smoke and mirrors. And as coaches, we see straight through it. Now, on what day was it? Friday. On Friday. Oh, before that. Yeah. Oh, no, I'll go with that. On Friday, I had this new lady come into this class and I'd never met her before. And it was from the word go. It was, she had the smoke machine out and she was installing mirrors everywhere. It was every single, she wouldn't let me finish. She wouldn't let me talk. It was interruptions. It was this constant barrage of information and questions around what we were doing. And we were doing deadlifts. And after about 10 minutes, I had enough. And in the politest possible way, I pulled her aside and I said, this isn't verbatim, this is paraphrasing myself here. We need to focus on what we're doing. All of these questions, they're irrelevant, and we need to actually do some work. Now, trust is earned as a coach. You've got to earn that trust. She's walked in, I can see it in her eyes. She's in a new environment. She's scared. She's worried about what she's about to do. You can see it in their eyes, and you've got to respect the fact that they're feeling that way. And you have to, in some form or another, see them, hear them, let them know that everything's going to be all right, and then get them moving. And after 10 minutes of me trying to interject and get her to actually deadlift, I had to pull her aside and say, you've got to trust me here. And I gave some examples, blah, blah, blah. By the end of the session, she'd done a few sets of deadlifts and she felt really good. But when I told her she needs to stop asking these questions, she looked at me, and this woman's in her 60s. She looked at me as if I was the devil. And yeah, she might be right there. But she'd never been told that. And it did make me think, like, do more people need to be reminded that actions speak louder than words, rather than all this chatter and talk and incessant questioning and like Excel spreadsheets and analysis over every single step of the fucking way. But that's them. They're like that at work. They're like that at home. They're like that at the gym. You're not going to change people that are like that, but you can help educate them and you can find a way forward. And that is my development area for those people. Now, the dreamers, on the other hand, the dreamers, these are the people that do not want to get educated. They don't come to the gym to be coached. They don't come to the gym to think about long-term progression. They come to the gym to get sweaty, to dream about a far-gone holiday, and they just want to be in the gym and float around. And I find myself intolerant of those groups as well, because I feel like they're paying good money and they should want to be educated. They should want to learn. They should want to get better. And they're on the complete other end of that spectrum of members that you have or clients that you have. But neither of them listen. And that is the commonality between those two groups that I feel intolerant to. It's the fact that they will not listen, which makes me think, is it the fact that people aren't listening that is my issue? And why is that? And that is my development area. Anyway, let's get some questions done, yeah? I know I may set a goal to get the rings. Oh, we're talking about bar muscle, sorry. Who have we got? There is the risk that they are paying you for a service so they feel entitled to their BS and time a bit. Yeah. I mean, potentially. I have a client I gave a few home truths to this week. He's a dreamer. Yeah. And again, the dreamers do need focus, I think. The dreamers need more focus and the analysts need less. Why can't people just be normal? I thought Trump got rid of the dreamers. I don't know that reference, but Sean finds it funny, so it must be. You know what I've realized? 8-year increments are large, 32 and 40, two different ages, but 40 and 48. But if you go 30, analyst. Jake, how do you handle women peeing themselves in the class? I'm fine with that. It happens fucking constantly with powerlifting, and sometimes with weightlifting. But in CrossFit, obviously, you have a very range of people. It happens quite a lot of powerlifting comps as well. And I'll be honest, I've learned how to cope, approach, and deal with it at powerlifting comps because of the way it's just so normalized. Cleaning crew come in, doesn't really get talked about, move on. I kind of just see it as a normal thing. The thing that I can't help anymore is when someone farts in the gym. My automatic response is, oh, like that. And they're funny. Like if someone I had a training partner called Gilbert. He's from Malta. This was 10 years ago. Hello, Jig. And every time he did handstand push-ups, every time he pushed through from the bottom, he would fart. Every single rep he did. So you can imagine what it was like. There was a open workout that was handstand push-ups and cleans, heavy cleans, I think. And it went like escalating. So it was like 3, 6, 9, 12 up, and the cleans every other round went up, something like that. It was 2015-ish. So you can imagine the hilarity of training next to him during the open with that amount of handstand push-ups, and every single rep he did, it was like an empty fairy liquid bottle being washing up bottle being squeezed. But you know, they're funny. My partner in crime, Jon writes, dreamer, not doing the basics, but thinking ahead to brand goals. Oh, I haven't been doing this because I don't have the focus. People that say I can't focus or I don't have it or I flip between things, fuck off. Just find a system that works for you. Okay. What was I talking about? Right. There was a reason I support that, wasn't there? Yeah. The kids. So I was talking to the kids about all of this, talking about big picture, meta thinking a bit bigger rather than being really impulsive and about that moment, about that time. Trying to think, it's taking a step back and thinking, how is this going to impact me long term or the family? It's quite a big step for kids to take, and not a lot of adults do it. So there you go. Training's been good this week. Did a bit of, so my entire session yesterday was me dicking around in the gym. for about 45 minutes. Just thought I'd practice some gymnastics work because the Open is 10 weeks away or something like that. And I haven't done any for about 2 years. Well, actually, no, last time I did any muscle ups was in the Open and I only did like one or something silly. It was just a reminder I could do some. So if they do come up, I might be able to do some. Handstand walking can still do that. Bar muscle ups can still do that. I saw your handstand walk. That was cute. Thank you. I know with handstand walking, there's 5 feet increments. I think we work in with lines. I can do 5 feet increments, even if it's just walk, step down, walk, step down. Is it 10 weeks? Stop taking me so literally, please, Grant. Hang on. Should we count the weeks down? I should probably know this, shouldn't I? Where are we now? We are so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11. I think it's 11 weeks. I think it's either 10 or 11 weeks. Do you know what I'm really looking forward to this year is Sean versus Grant. It is going to be after the year they've had, after that mile, after all of that. I can't wait. I really can't wait. Jake, do you feel like people have an affinity for upper body pressing or better handstand? So at Rogue, Jon and I made this really good observation, right? I think we might have talked about it on Glinton. Was we watched the women do that workout that was bench press and the lateral pegboard, and being lower body heavy, Danny Spiegel, Colton Mertens, those two in particular, fucking pays off for handstands. However, as soon as you're a dead weight hanging, that goes damn against you. And you looked at the men looked at the physiques of the people that were really, really struggling at that particular event with the lateral thing with the bench press. The bench press didn't really matter. It was the lateral pegboard that really had an impact. And it was really interesting seeing the men's, because the heavyweight men, the men that were bench pressing the heaviest, did the best on that event. The people that were lifting the lightest did the worst, which would imply upper body strength, because the men were upper body dominant predominantly, compared to the women that hold a lot of their muscle mass in their legs comparatively. The men flew through that event. So getting back to your question, do you feel no? But and here's the reason why I'm not 100% sure if I believe that to be true. I mean, it makes perfect sense. You're stacking the body. Obviously, I think it's about how you hold it. And a video that I put out yesterday, just here are 3 top tips for your handstands. Obviously, one is spreading your load through your hands. So you want a big hand when you're walking on your hands. People do this and they're shit. So spread the load. Secondly is shrugging. So we know when you're in a handstand up the top here, you need to be fully locked out, shrugging, getting that scapula and the lat engaged around the shoulder girdle in order to stabilize and be able to demonstrate that strength. You see it with beginners. You see it with people that are really struggling with handstands and handstand walking. They're soft in the shoulders and their elbows are bent, and they're thinking, why is this hard? You could be the strongest fucking animal in the world, and if you're not stacking the weight right, you're going to be abysmal at handstand walking. So I think it's a lot more to do with your ability to move better. And the people that move the best, you think about Daniel Brandon, think about her overhead positioning. That is a massive indicator, the overhead position, of how efficient you are on handstand walking. And being a gymnast when you're younger helps. But yeah, I thought about something yesterday, by the way. We're moving on. I thought about something yesterday. I was talking to someone at the gym about what the difference is between the glory days, the days of years gone by when everything was amazing, the golden era of CrossFit and how everything was amazing. Here's my take. I made an observation yesterday, right? And I think this is true for most people. What about the correlation between the best pullers having the best overhead positioning? Never really thought about that. I'll think about that in a bit. But what I'd like you all to do, what I'd like to do is I'd like to unzip this mask that you have. And we're going to all be honest with each other. Right, so let's all be honest. In 2012, most CrossFit coaches didn't have a fucking clue what they were doing. Okay? Most didn't have a clue what they were doing. They didn't have to program well. They didn't know how to coach very well. They didn't have very good systems in place. But what they had and they were reeking of was passion and enthusiasm. They dripped it from every pore. They were living CrossFit. They were the spit and sawdust. They were the passionate ones. They were the turning up in the morning. They absolutely loved being at the gym, and they were passionate, and they wanted to own a gym, a CrossFit gym, and they wanted everyone to do it, and they showed up, and they were living the dream. Athletes were the same as well. You go out to 2012, no one had a clue what they were doing, but it worked. It was brilliant, and no one had a clue. Fast forward to now, and the competition at the gyms is about how well you coach, your experience, how well you move, your systems being in place. Everything's become more formalized. It's all who's got the best this, who's got the best this. It's become more S&C rather than GPP. It's become about being clinical. And you see it across the board. And I think that's possibly a reason why the old school gym owners in CrossFit have fallen away a little bit, because they know what worked wasn't necessarily being the best at everything. It was just being the most passionate and turning up and having fun and wanting to be at the gym. It wasn't all that clinical stuff, but the market is demanding it now. It's sterilized. That's a great word for it. It's become sterilized. And I think the new branding, I think the new ads have gone some way to demonstrate the fact that we're harking back to that culture. But what does that mean? Talk about culture and the community and what we stand for, and hard work pays off, and again, Pukey and everyone. And I get it and I hear it, but what does that mean when you're trying to sell CrossFit to someone? I'm not sure that it means much to people. But what does mean a lot to people is seeing real passion, and not necessarily the people that know the most. I worry the new ads are like when your favorite band goes on tour, but it's like 5-star. And what, the ads are great, and they've gone a long way. They are doing a really fucking good job. I know I keep swearing, that's 3 now. Matt's nailed it. Our job as coaches is to break down those barriers and teach them why. So I did an induction yesterday. We've completely changed the systems at the gym that we're at. And the way that doing induction now, and this is all from Coaches Congress, listening and speaking to people and understanding that what we had wasn't working so well. And we wondered why. The process that I've got now is that as soon as we get an inquiry, I get directly in contact and I organize for an 1.5-hour meet. Half an hour before that is before a session. We'll sit down, we'll go through goals, I'll get the apps downloaded, the booking system, I'll get waivers signed, I'll get everything done, show a couple of bits and pieces, show them around the gym, introduce them to people as they come in. I will then one-on-one with them through a group session. I will be that little birdie on their shoulder, PTing them kind of to the side through that group environment. at the end, but telling them what they can do, scaling options, explaining acronyms, and taking them through the workout. Bit of a cheerleader, but not too much. Then after they've done their bits and put the kit away, we will sit back down. They'll have their electrolytes or whatever, and we will discuss how it went, if they enjoyed it, what the membership options are. And my job is to get them over that first hurdle, which is getting them in the gym in the first place, getting them in a group environment, but having a one-on-one coach talking them through it, so they're not just lost in the moment and wondering what the hell to do. Because as good as a coach as you can be, if you've got a group of 20 people and you've got a newbie in there looking around, you're either going to neglect that newbie that hasn't got a fucking clue, or you're going to neglect 19 other people that are paying money to be there. So it's retention versus recruitment at that point. Yeah, it makes perfect sense, doesn't it? And this is the thing with just reassessing and going through and understanding, right? Taking a step back and say, what can we do better? What have we done? What have we done that isn't working? What choices have we made that over the years has changed? Because back in the day, the systems weren't great, but we could get away with it. You know, we could have people turn up, oh, I'll just buy a t-shirt, and then they'll come back because we're the only place in town that offers this kind of training. Now, if they slip through the net, there's 20 other gyms offering functional fitness where they can go, and they'll get loads of attention. They won't get the best place to train, but they'll get the attention they want. And CrossFit gyms know that they are the best in town. They know it. We've got the best coach, we've got the best program, we've got the best environment, we've got the best results. We create the best damn people. But we need to let people know that they can do that here at our gyms. And that's the hard bit. That's the bit that slipped away and has had to change. And I think as long as we're doing that, I think we can do our part and get more people in. And we've had 3 new members in the last 2 weeks because of the system change. And it wasn't much hard work, I'll be honest. It's just principles. It's just having these systems. And they don't have to be systems. Doesn't mean having electronic processes and having a new app. Just means a way of doing it that you can use. Were you ever a part of a large grant rights? Were you ever part of a large box when you were in London or Britain, whatever it's called? Good. So I've trained at many, Grant. I've trained a lot. And our in the UK, the seminars and the sort of the continued learning and the speciality courses back in the day were hosted at the bigger gyms. So there was CrossFit Train, CrossFit 3D in Manchester. That a lot of the ones were Reading that I first went to, outside of London. That was my first gym that I went to. They're quite big. They're quite a big gym. But there's loads. There's tons, and I've visited them and I've trained at them. But my gyms that I had were never mass. They were never like huge. They were never these mega gyms. My box was huge with all the greatest equipment of 450 members, 20 people per class, 24 people, and I thought that was normal. Yeah. My question is, are they still like that now? Are they still operating in that same way, Grant? And how long ago was that? Brick. Cool. Haven't heard that for a while. NC Fit. That's interesting about Khalipa and Rich. I know that Khalipa's now become a spiritual man and is a devout Christian, is going to get baptized, and he's one of Rich's mates. So it makes sense for them to be joining forces, which is cool. I do like those two. I think they've got their own unique spin on everything. And it's great to see him. Great to see the old gang back together again. Yeah, NorCal CrossFit, wasn't it? I think I remember when they went up to like 8 gyms. And there was that NorCal, what was a business? There was a business group that used to do seminars and coaching how to have an affiliate. Anyway, but yeah, good stuff. 21 to mid 22. They have 3 locations now. Olympic lifting special location. You mean they have a weightlifting club? They do jiu-jitsu too. Yeah, diversifying that. In the large classes, the senior members have, thing is, I do love that, and that is part of that community, but it shouldn't be on the members to help newbies. And I know what you mean, that once they're in the door, once they're in part of the classes, you get like a mentor program, a buddy system where they come and, you know, they'll buddy, and that's brilliant. That's great. I do like that. But what I'm talking about is that recruitment, that initial get them in the door. The amount of members that have probably slipped through the net, you know, because gyms around, gyms have just got lazy. Gyms have got, oh, do you know what? They can jump in the class. They're going to have to at some point. All the rationale behind it, it sounds great to your own ears, but eventually you do understand that new members need an extra little bit of attention, and they need explanation. The amount of people that will fall through the cracks because they weren't taken care of those first few sessions. Yeah, you and you're not going to get one right answer on all of this. You're not going to get one blanket argument for everyone. But I'm talking look, if I have a group of 12 and the workout is fairly high technical and heavy, and it's required coaching, technical coaching is required. If it's one of those sessions, compare that to a sweaty Savage Saturday where it's plate ground to overhead, 800-meter running, burpees, and the rowing machine, right? I would easily be able to coach 100 people in that second workout. Easy. Too easy for me. Grunt work. And this is where High Rocks classes, it's this lure for coaches that are kind of cheerleaders and less technically based, because it is more cheerleader and more logistics about how can I get as many people into this, because it's just grunt work and sweat and people don't want to be technically coached. Whereas that session that I said about, where we're looking at the mechanics of pull-ups, we're looking at core to extremity movement, we're going through the snatch and breaking it down. Then we've got a triplet Metcon that's 12 minutes. I would not feel comfortable just saying, yeah, the more the merrier, having as many people can come into this class as possible that I can squeeze in the gym. For me, that's not premium. That's not what we should be selling ourselves on. Those particular days where we're doing that kind of coaching and that style of coaching, they are really fucking draining as a coach. If you do any more than 2 hours on the bounce doing those sessions, any coach in here knows what I'm talking about. Those sessions where you've got to give everything that you can, your knowledge is seeping out of you. People are walking away really enthused. They've had a great workout. You've been on it from minute 0 to 60. You've done everything. Any more than 2 hours on the bounce, you are a mess. You are fatigued. You're going to miss something. You're going to move wrong. You're going to not spot the floor. Something's got to give, right? Whereas those sessions that I could have 1,000 people working out, if I had a facility big enough, where it's running, rowing, burpees, standardized stuff with no real movement standards necessary, just grunt work, sweaty, the Saturday crew. I'll be honest, it's fine now and again. I don't really enjoy coaching that. I enjoy educating through my coaching rather than just being a cheerleader. And I think that's where PT comes into the repertoire of why why I enjoy that, because I really love it when I see someone get their first, or understand, or a light bulb goes, or anything like that about a progression. Yes, totally agree. Shouldn't need to seek out coaching in a class. It's an assumption. Yeah, yeah. You shouldn't be looking around for a coach thinking, why is no one, if you're moving bad, it's like when you see, I'm sure you've all seen it, when you've got a relatively new person, you've got, I don't know, hang fucking power snatch in a workout, and there's a few empty bars around. You've got people that haven't really done it much, and they're looking around, they've picked up the bar, and they're trying to remember what it is. If your coach, if your class is too big, you're going to have 2 or 3 people that are doing that at any one point, and you cannot walk around and you cannot assist those 3 people. They're going to be stood around waiting, or they're going to do it real badly, or another member is going to have to stop and educate them. And that's your role. You should be responsible for that as a coach, not rely on members to do that. Saturday partner WODs are okay for facilitating. Yeah, exactly. I think that there are the odd exception that proves the rule to that. But I'm not on board with this. You shouldn't have caps in terms you can scale, you can change the workouts to get as many people in the door. I'm not a fan of that way of thinking. I know that people can prove me wrong there, and I know the best in the game will probably say otherwise. And maybe that's a limitation on my coaching. But if I've got a group of 15 people signed up, booked on, and we're going through snatch progressions, and we're talking about core to extremity, and then we've got a nasty triplet at the end of it, I refuse to change all of that, not do the snatch work, make it a longer Metcon. Rather than a barbell, it becomes a dumbbell to get more people in, just so that more people can get in and move for that day. I want the best education coming out of those sessions. And that might be the wrong thing to say, but I don't feel like slamming more people through the door, dumbifying it down and becoming like F45 is what we should do at the affiliate. I don't feel that that's right for the way that I coach and the type of gym that I want to be working at. And that might not be good for business. It might, you could argue, yeah, but then you'll have 100 members more if you do it that way than you haven't. Yeah, you probably will. But is that really what we want? We talked about this earlier. We talked about the old days where people gave a shit and they cared and they wanted the best out of it. We weren't necessarily the best people, and I get the business argument. I really, truly do. I've heard it all, but I can't justify it in my mind doing it that way. I can't. I think there should be caps on classes. I don't think you just need more money from all of this. Where do you end? Where does that money value end? Do you have 1,000 people in the room? Can you coach 1,000 people at a time? Then it just becomes one of those fucking Chinese factory workouts they do before they all go to work. It looks shit. You won't have enough kit. There's got to be an end point. I just don't buy it. But when the best in the game are saying contrary, I'm probably wrong. Maybe it's my limitations as a coach. But yeah. But there we go. What was I going to say? There was another thing. Yeah. I agree with you, but you still have to make money. Yeah. And again, like, mo money, mo problems. So CrossFit Light is effectively High Rocks, I would say. But yeah, I would argue most of those people won't stay long term. Yeah. Yeah. Because again, this is tricky grounds to walk, really, isn't it? Because I don't know if, like I said earlier, there's no blanket approach, and you have to understand your clientele and your members. And maybe I live in a bubble. Maybe we're a one-off or whatever. But I think back to the comment earlier. Be impressed with simplicity. If your programming's on point, people are going to be educated. It's the And like we've said thousands of times, it comes down to the ownership. It comes down to the gym owners and what responsibility they're giving people and how they want to run the place. If you just want to be a millionaire and own a gym, a CrossFit gym, you're not going to be able to do it all yourself. You need to parcel it up, and you need to have departments, and you need people doing shit that you're not willing to do. And there becomes more and more faces at your gym, and the coaches take on different responsibilities. And that's great. If that's what you want as a gym, I can't argue with that. If you want to be a millionaire and own a gym and that's the way that it has to happen, brilliant. But I would also argue in 2012, the people that own the gyms and were coaching there, being a millionaire wasn't their priority for being at that gym. That wasn't why they were working there or owning a gym. Well, if it was, they soon found out that it wasn't. We went there to have fun. We went there to get chalky hands. We got there to rip our fingers and put it on fucking Facebook because Instagram wasn't really big then. We went to throwdowns because we got to work out of our mate and we do dodgy snatches and fucking it was for fun. And now people don't go to the gym for fun. They go there for clout. And a lot of the coaches and gym owners have taken the same path. They don't have fun anymore. But Jake, I'm 45 now. I shouldn't be having fun at the gym. Fuck off, you should. The gym is an adult playground. We should be going there to have fun. We should be enjoying our sessions, not stressing out about them. If you are over-analysing and critiquing every fucking moment of your of your hour at the gym that day, you're not doing it right. You need to show up. You need to listen on time, by the way. You need to listen to the briefing, not talk over it. You need to take the coach for what they've said. Don't read into things. Don't try and overanalyze it. You need to start moving. You need to do your warm-up effectively. You need to get yourself moving. You need to focus on your percentages. You need to ask questions about what cues you need, but not too many, and focus on one thing per session that you can achieve. But you need to have fun with it. You need to enjoy it. You need to have a laugh. If you're head down stressing about fucking the stroke rate of your handstand push-ups and how many centimeters apart they are, you're missing the fucking point. That isn't why we do CrossFit. And it's a long-term gain thing. And you're there to have fun. And that was the problem. Anyway, moving on. I don't want to get off my box just yet. So the picture that I put as the poster for this, one of the stories I talked about with my boy in the week was the Emperor's New Clothes. And I'm sure you've all heard it before. But the Emperor's New Clothes effectively is this emperor that's constantly, he's got too much money. He's obsessed with the way that he looks. He wants everyone to follow him. He's afraid of not saying the right thing or not doing the thing and getting admiration off people. He wants to impress. His fame. It's that thirst for wanting to be approved and accepted and showing off and everything. He's surrounded by people that just agree with him and say yes all the time. His servants, his subjects, his public, they all just go along with it and say how amazing he is. And oh, isn't he cool? And then this trickster, this fraudster, this con man comes into town. And no, not that one. This trickster comes in town, this con man, and he knows what the king's like, and he understands the king wants the finest clothing because he shows his wealth off, and he wants to look the part, and he wants everyone to think he's amazing. And this trickster understands the ego of the emperor. He says, "Have you seen these? I don't think you'll be able to afford these, and these are for real fashion connoisseurs, you know." And the emperor's like, "No, show me. I am a fashion guy. I'm the best of the best. I understand all this." Trickster opens up a suitcase, and they are invisible clothes, because obviously we know the trickster has thought, "Oh, I can get around his ego there." There are no clothes in there, but He convinces that emperor that these invisible clothes are the best. There's the finest stitching. They've got gold woven into them. Everyone will be amazed by these, and only idiots can't see them. So, of course, the emperor can definitely see them. So the emperor buys them $1 million. The trickster goes away, having had his money. Anyway, the emperor puts on these clothes and he walks around. And he tells all of his subjects, look at this, it's the finest stitching. And they go, oh yeah, that's really good. Yeah, that's amazing. Because they just go along with it. Because they're institutionalized. They think they should just say yes all the time. And they're idiots if they don't, or they're fearful of saying no. Anyway, little boy walks up. And he just says it as it is. He says, the king is in the altogether, i.e. he's naked. The king's naked. As soon as that boy says that, everyone else goes, oh yeah, we can say it. So there's multiple morals to that story, right? But it got me thinking about the whole carbohydrate thing. Because everywhere you look in sport, we are told and told and told and told and told carbohydrates are an effective fuel for exercise. They're needed, they're necessary. You need 90 grams per hour of hard work, blah, 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 blah. And you see it. And then that report came out this week. I don't know if, I can't remember where I saw it, but a huge bit of research was took part. I'll try and post it in a minute. I can't look for it now. I think, who was it? Someone posted it. I think it might have been Metfix. Reposted it, but I didn't see it there. I saw it's like Huberman or someone like that. Anyway, they had 100 athletes, all at a fairly high standard. And obviously at a high level, athletes are slurping and drinking carbohydrates like they're going out of fashion because it is instant energy, obviously. As we all know, don't need to tell you all that. But they took this controlled test where they took a control group of 50 of them and 50 of them. And 50 of them went ketogenic. So they went real low carbs. They went under 50 grams a day. And these guys are endurance athletes, right? So they're working 4 to 5 hours a day, 6 days a week. And the group of both of these groups, there were 5, so there were 10 in total, 5 pre-diabetics in each of them. They'd gone pre-diabetic from the amount of fucking sugar they were inhaling every day. Even though they were fit and healthy and lean. Now, by the end of this 12-week, I think it was either a 10 or 12-week block, their outputs, they measured it in wattage, the outputs by the end of the block was exactly the same. Nothing had changed. Their performance hadn't been impacted at all. Both groups. And it annoyed me. It really annoyed me because for a number of reasons. Shannon Schleifer. Hello, Shannon. How are you? Welcome to the Vonosphere. The Sevangelicals. Same performance without negative side. Yes, exactly, Matt. And it annoys me because I've convinced myself over the years that I need carbohydrates for my fueling. And don't get me wrong, they do fuel you, don't they? So that herein lies the problem, right? I was thinking, are we just convincing ourselves that we can't survive and we can't perform and we can't do it all without carbs? Are we, if we've unzipped, remember we've unzipped that veil of life and we're being deadly honest here. Have we convinced ourselves that we regular people that are training like we do, none of us in here are athletes at the highest degree, have we convinced ourselves that we need carbs? Not that we want them, of course we want them, but that we need them for performance. And I was thinking about the Emperor's New Clothes, and I was thinking, are carbohydrates being told? Are we being told, are carbohydrates the Emperor's New Clothes? Are they this thing that we're all supposed to say, yeah, it's great, and yeah, it works, and yeah, we do that? I'm not sure. As we're trying hard to convince sedentary people to stop eating carbs to the point where we've completely demonized carbs, I don't think so. I honestly just like South Patrick. Yeah, exactly. And Grant, thank you for being honest. And I'll be honest too. I fucking love sugar. I love it. It tastes delicious. Okay. And I've heard injecting heroin into your veins tastes delicious. But we know that's not really good practice, don't we? Matt says 100%. We're addicted, aren't we? We're addicted to this notion that we need it for performance. Yeah. I don't eat candy, but I use gels when I run. Yeah. They're easy. They're easy to do. Like I had one on the rower at our High Rocks and I got a buzz and it helped my performance. But was I best fueled for that High Rocks? Probably not. It was 8 p.m. when we raced. I hadn't really eaten that much. Me and Jon had a bagel about 2 hours before, but I hadn't really eaten much that day. So I think if your nutrition is optimized and you're doing the best you can, do you then need everything like that? For low carb runs, how do you feel? Yeah, but here's the thing, Sean. If you're not reliant on blood sugars and carbohydrates for fueling, you'll use different energy pathways and systems, won't you? Yeah. How can you have that in reserves? Well, you've got glycogen and you've got fueling and you've got a fair bit of body fat that you can use. And at your pace on the marathon, you won't be glycolytic. So, I'm kidding, obviously. But I'm not convinced. I don't know. There's metabolic flexibility. Exactly. Garrett Bell 25-27 writes, especially at low intensity, you can use fat substrates for energy. Yeah. So I'm leaning towards this idea that it's just excuses. And of course they do help. Of course, if I have a gel halfway through a workout, I'm going to feel better. I'm going to perform better. If my nutrition is shit until that point. And at what risk? 10 out of those 100, 10% of those athletes on that experiment were pre-diabetic. 10% pre-diabetic. I think over 140 average heart rate, you'd be glycolytic. Yeah. I'm only messing with you, Sean. Yeah, I don't know. Eat meats, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, some fruit, little starch, no sugar. Keep intake to that. Sports, exercise, and not body fat. Yeah. Anyway, right. That's enough on that. I need to do some more thinking around them. It's that age-old debate, isn't it? It will continue on. It will surge on. I've got a couple of guests lining up. Hoping to get a few this week crammed in. Got Will from CrossFit Bath coming on, colleague of Ollie Mainsbridge's, set up a new consultation company that I'm really liking the look of. Helping gyms, which is effectively what I'm enjoying at the moment. Studies show that it is mental, Jake, unless it's over an hour. Yeah. And Matt, fucking amazing point. If you are working out in a CrossFit gym for your hour of your day, you don't need gels. You don't need fucking candy things. Just be better prepared. Yeah. But I think carbs like a turbocharger may age the engine faster. But yeah. Sean Beer has it. Well, zero alcohol doesn't. Zero alcohol doesn't. Yeah. 100. Meat, nuts, seeds, and beer. Yeah. Okay, Sean. Right. Oh, I mentioned when. Hello, CJ. Hello. It's polite to say hello, isn't it? Oh. Hang on. I'm just seeing. I get lots of messages every day. When did you message me? I don't think you did. Did you see our girl Tati yesterday? Tatiana, who was on the show with her mum and dad. She won the IF3 World Champs yesterday. Well done, Jake. Got a run, fuck off. Yep. Fuck you too, Matt. Have a lovely day. Thanks for joining us. I can't find your message, CJ. Sorry. Must be in another thing. Oh, CJ, was it the do thing? Where are you? Someone messaged me. Someone tagged me. There's these really weird pictures on videos on Instagram at the moment. You have to send a meme or you won't see it. Yeah, I'll find it in a minute. Siege, under siege. Oh my god, have you ever said that to your wife, CJ? You're under siege. Maybe not. Right, on that note, on that bombshell. By the way, today I've been using my Osmo Pocket 3 thing. Does it look good? Does it look any different to normal, or does it not really? And what I'll do, I'll go boom. Hang on. Has it done it? Yeah, there we go. Obviously, I haven't zoomed out yet. So it's that one. It's my normal one that I haven't affected. And then there's the one today. Different, eh? Different angles, yeah? Anyway, there we go. And by the way, I have got another poem on children by Khalil Gibran. We're talking about poetry earlier, CJ. Now, I want to read this out. I might end on this. Although it hasn't got the bottom bit of the poem. I don't know how I'm going to read that. Your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. They come through you, but not from you. And though they are with you, yet they belong not to you. You may give them your love, but not your thoughts. For they have their own thoughts. You may house their bodies, but not their souls. For their souls dwell in the house of tomorrow, which you cannot visit, not even in your dreams. You may strive to be like them, but seek not to make them like you. For life goes not backward, nor tarries with yesterday. You are the bows from which your children as living arrows are sent forth. The archer seeks to mark upon the path of the infinite, and he bends you with his might, and his arrows may go swift and far. Let your bending in the archer's hand be for gladness. For even as he loves the arrow that flies, so he also loves the bow that is stable. I like that. Anyway, have a lovely day, everyone. Enjoy your Sunday. We're off to watch some tractors now. Thanks for joining me. I hope you got something out of all of that. It was drivel most of the time, but thank you. Have a lovely day, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye for now.